Heir of Fire. This is the Throne of Glass live show for Heir of Fire. Me and Brittni are hosting one book a month for the rest of our lives, basically, because the series is really long. We're using the new StreamYard to do this live show because Google Hangouts went away. And I gotta tell you, it's really freaking me out that it's not mirrored. Like, it's really distracting. So sorry if I get like caught up in that, because honestly, it's already distracting.
Same. I'm trying to hide my forehead, but it's just not working. So
you gotta just let the part work for you or whatever. I don't know. I don't even know how to do it.
It's fine. It's really warm.
I love the fan. That's amazing. Does everyone want to introduce themselves and also give the like star ratings, any like non-spoilery thoughts? We won't spoil yet for any of the books, and then eventually we'll get to spoilery for everything. I'm Kathy. You're on my channel. Hello. Hit subscribe. And everybody who's in the live show is all linked down below in the description box. So make sure to hit subscribe to everyone.
Me?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, I just finished it. So I just finished it about an hour ago. I just had a few chapters to finish off. So I haven't really thought about my rating. But I will say I've been so excited to get to this book. I know we know that if you've been following this read along, whether you're watching now or on the replay for us. I have been dying to start this book. I've always felt, and I know Cassie's the same way, ever since we hit this book, it just gets better and better and amazing. So I was so excited for this reread. As I was rereading it, I forgot so many things that were happening. Like I remembered them, but I forgot them, and I forgot that they were in this book. So I don't know, it felt kind of new in a weird way. It's hard to explain. I would say if I had to give it a rating, like I want to say 5 stars because I love it so much, but I'm also feeling more like 4.5 because I know it gets better for me. So I'll say probably like 4.5, but I absolutely loved it, and I'm so excited that we just read this one. So that's probably my general thoughts I'll say right now.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. I'll go next. Hi guys, my name is Jackie. My channel is Evil Queen Books. This is a reread for me. I initially gave it 4 stars from the first time I read it years ago, but I have now lowered to a 3.5. This has always been my least favorite book in the series, if I'm being completely honest. But they do get better from here. I agree with you on that, Brittni and Cassie. So yeah, not my favorite. I still love it, but I'll tell more of my thoughts in a little bit.
So, hi, Paula from Fandom Books. I originally gave this one a 5-star, but after this reread, I've given it a 3 because I don't know, it was just not grabbing me as much as it did when I first read it. Or I'm definitely more of a intense reviewer now, I guess. So I don't know, but we'll get into all the juicy stuff in a bit, I guess.
Yeah. So I have a confession to make.
Oh no.
So this was a reread, so I have read the book before, but I'm actually only halfway through my reread right now.
Okay.
I was dying like this whole week. I just have been very busy, and like I stayed up last night and tried to read, but the night before I had like a night shift and then a morning shift, so I'd only had like 4 hours of sleep. So last night I was like trying to read and just knocked out. And then I was reading this morning, but you can't exactly read half a book in a couple hours. So I went on and I watched April from Aprilius Maximus. I watched Jenna from Jenna Claire K. I watched Peru's Projects and Katie Tastic's old spoiler sessions from their first reads of them. And then these two were reread. The first two were reread, like reading vlogs. So like I'm all like refreshed, but I'm not going to give a star rating for this reread yet because I don't know, but I am really loving it. It definitely is slower paced than I remember because like it's just a bunch of training and like it like basically everyone is in like a lull of their plot line in all 3 of the storylines that we get in this book. So I can definitely see what Paula means by that. By it being different. So yeah, that's my thoughts right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I honestly feel that everything's just kind of like a setup plot for everything that is to come. So I completely resonate with that. I think this last half of it was my favorite. Like the beginning is a lot slower. I remember when I first read it the first time, I felt the same. Like I thought it was a little bit slow. But I think I just fell in love with the second half that I was like, oh, 5 stars. So I forgot to say I did rate it 5 stars last time. And that's where I'm having trouble rating it because I just enjoyed it so much, but I know how much better it's going to get.
Yeah, I feel that a lot.
Right?
I think like also the first time I read these books, Sarah J. Maas knows how to write an ending. Like, all of the endings are so good. And so I feel like my first time reading these books, every time I'm like, okay, these are good. And then I get to the ending, I'm like, oh my God, 5 stars. But I never really like thought about the whole picture when I was rating them. I would just go by my like final feeling when I finished the book and closed it. So I'm definitely learning like the change in how I review books as I reread these as well.
Yeah, I did the same thing, Cassie. I read the first 5. It was up to Empire Storm when I first initially read it, and I like read it in 2 weeks, and I was like 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, blah blah blah. Continues one after another. Up and besides Heir, that was the only one I didn't give a 5. But oh my God.
Yeah, I think this was my first like 5-star when I first read it. 5-star Sarah J. Maas book. And even before, I was I'm very stingy with my 5 stars. I'm one of those that like if it's a 5-star, I will literally throw the book at you and go rate it. I am that meme. Rate the book. So reading it back now, I'm like, why the hell did I give it 5 stars? But like you said, it's because she knows how to write the ending where you're just like, oh my God, I need the next book now.
Yeah.
I feel like when you said, why did I rate it 5 stars then? I feel like this is just my own personal opinion based off of what I was reading. Like during the time when I started getting into like YA, when YA just like started coming popular on BookTube. Because Cassie, I don't know how long Jackie and Paula you've been on BookTube, but like we've been on for
it's been a long time.
3 years for me.
About 5 years for me, I think.
Okay, so you know when you first started, we like YA started really coming out. We got like for me, it was like Divergent that got me into right? And like we all have that book, and then I felt like this just took YA to a different level. Like it just felt more adult-like. And I don't know, maybe it's just my age. Like I am like over 30, so for me, right? So I felt like I was like, ooh. Okay, let me explain this better. Like, I feel like there was like YA and adult, but I didn't like adult books that much, but I also felt like I was a little too old for YA. And I just like couldn't find that book that grasped me. And that was when like new adult really wasn't a thing, I don't think.
No.
Right.
It started kind of coming in after this. And I was like, oh, it's like that in-between world. And I think it's just like this, oh my God, this is like so good because this is what I've been looking for. And now it's being done over and over. We've seen it. We come back to this book and we're like, oh yeah, okay. I don't know.
Maybe I agree.
That's the thing. It's we've seen it and we know that it's done better, I guess. Because it's like, you know, we finally get introduced into the fairy world in this one. We get more of that, but we still don't get enough. In my opinion, in this book, it just kind of like it kind of like, yeah, we get to get some face stuff, and then it's just like, on this level.
Yeah. I loved it though. I loved the buildup of it. I love going back to that because I feel like when I first read it, maybe I was trying to skim through that because I was bored with it and I was like, I just wanted to get to action. But now I was like really interested in like the foundational pieces of where the story was going. Like, for example, who's that? I can't remember how to say his name. Emrys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He, like, I totally forgot about him.
Same. I actually, me and my notes, I wrote down, I was like, oh my God, Emrys, I love him.
I forgot all about that. And then it was like, oh my God, I love hearing about the history and then how they are supposed to be, is it demi-fae that were outside of, weren't allowed to go to the, like, I forgot all those little pieces because I was so enthralled with like all the big action things. And I think that's why I really enjoyed it, because I was like remembering those foundational pieces and like connecting them and be like, oh, that's where the roots come from. And I think that's why I really enjoyed this book. If I read it now, like, for example, Rachel, who was on one of our live streams, she was talking to us and saying she'd probably DNF it. And thinking about maybe if I read this for the first time now, maybe I would think differently. But because I read it and I got to go back to these foundational pieces and like kind of like see where the roots were, I really enjoyed that. I mean,
I agree, because even though this book is like pretty slow paced, at least the first half that I've reread this time around, like I'm so in love with just getting to sit with these characters and like watch Manon teach Abraxos how to be a good wyvern.
I can't get over how people skipped over Manon's chapter.
I don't understand.
I can't.
I mean, can we get into spoilers now?
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna warn for spoilers at least up to this book. So like spoilers for Heir of Fire, Crown of Midnight, and Throne of Glass and Assassin's Blade, but like don't spoil anything past it yet.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Going with the whole Manon chapters, it felt, I loved them, and I absolutely love Manon and Abraxas, but I think they are kind of jarring to be like just thrust in, because like we've only ever come across the yellow beak, the yellow leg tribe in the thing, and it's like we didn't get any history about the other actual like Iron Teeth clans, and then having a point of view of someone in this book that we knew nothing about was kind of like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Yeah. I do remember thinking that when I read this the first time. I'm like, who the fuck is this girl coming into my book and disrupting me? But then like by the like first few times we meet her, I remember being like, oh, she's fun. Like, because I love just like any type of badassery with a woman. Like, yeah, it's really fun. And then especially like once we get to the point where we're finally brought to Morath, and like in book 2, they talk a lot about Morath, and Morath is where the king sent the Duke, and where he sent what's her face, that Palpatine. We don't know. Well, yeah, a lead too, but we don't know a lead yet. But like in book 2, it's like that's where Caltaine went, and we know that something's being made there, but we haven't met it. So I remember, like, even though I didn't care yet about Manon, I was like, oh, but we're gonna find out what the wings are that we've been talking about. So that I remember being excited about that. And I cannot fathom how 4 years ago when we were all reading this book the first time, like the whole BookTube community was reading this for the first time. Like, how were people not interested in finding out what was going on in Morath? Like,
right. So, Sassy, because I know you didn't get to the end there. The last chapter of Manon is them flying out to Morath. And they're like, and she says, oh, in the last other chapter, it was so good. I think they said, we're reclaiming our kingdom. Oh, right here.
Because they're talking about like they're constantly talking about how they're going to use the Wyverns to bring back like from the wastes, right?
Yeah.
So it says, only then. Okay, once they fought the King's War, when his enemies were bleeding out around them, only then would they rise to reclaim their broken kingdom, and she would go home at last.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yes. And
yes.
because we are on the witch chapters because it's so incredible. Okay, again, I don't know why. Like, I completely forgot about like the whole Wyvern training, like in that in depth. Like, I remember they met, and like, it's like it went away from my brain. But then what really got me was showing how Manon kind of has a heart, like always seeing like those, like it's going against her nature, and how like how you say her name, Petra?
Yeah, I think so.
And how she like pretty much saved her and like went against everything in front of the grandmother. And I was just like, how do I not remember this? But like just seeing things, I'm not going to say anything, but like just seeing things play out and like, was really.
Yes.
I think we got a nice kind of juxtaposition in this one because we finally get to see a more vulnerable side of Selena / Aelin / every other called. But she finally opens up and stops putting on this "I'm the best assassin ever." It's like, yeah, okay, move on. But she finally like opens up and gets soft and shows things about her history with Rowan. Well, her history to Rowan, and then we get this badass bitch that is Manon.
Is anyone's else favorite character Manon? Because she's like my favorite character of the whole series.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh,
it's Manon and Lysandra.
Oh, I love
Lysandra's awesome too.
So just like, I don't know, those chapters it's just so nostalgic for me, and it was so different reading it this time and knowing where it goes, and I was like, this is amazing. I love this book. But I will say my least favorite that every time I got to them, I was like, I'm going to stop reading, was like Kale, Dorian.
Yeah.
I was like, until the end, like then obviously, which we'll get to, but I was like, this chapter. And that's always when I would put it down.
Really? That's interesting. Because the Kale and Dorian chapters are when we get to see Adian. And so I was just like, I love you. Also, okay, I need to like talk about BookTube 2014 because like I said, I rewatched Katie Tastic and Prue's Project's original spoiler discussions of these books. And both of them were like, maybe Adian is a love interest. They're like distantly cousins.
Oh my god.
And they also were like, I loved getting to watch Selena or Aelin, whatever, be friends with a guy, and it wasn't focused on romance with Rowan. And I was like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, but to be fair, there was a tiny bit of foreshadowing when Rowan says, I don't know what this thing between us is either. It's kind of a throwaway comment, but it's in there. So it's like,
I love Rowan so much. I'm so just like we were talking about the Dorian and Kale chapters, but man, every time we're seeing Rowan and Selena together, I'm just like, even though like their relationship's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It is
obviously.
weird.
At first, I was like, why did I like him so much?
Yeah. He like punches her really hard. I'm like, wait, what? Like, I knew that happened. I remembered it, but like, it still was so like shocking when it happened. But oh my god, I just love them so much.
That was the one thing I remember the most about Heir of Fire coming in. It was like what they were like together at the very beginning, and that's probably why I didn't like Rowan for the longest time. Up until probably Empire of Storms, I could have cared less. And then reading this again and knowing what happens later on, I'm like, okay, I'll deal with it.
Yeah, I love it so much.
So before Rowan popped in, Jackie, who was your OTP with
Dorian?
Oh yeah, I was a hardcore Solorian shipper for almost 3 years. Yeah. Oh my god. If you watch my review on my channel, I did the first 5 books in one review. I was like, Solorian for life. I don't give a shit who Selena ends up with. Solorian is my OTP, and yeah, obviously that's changed now.
Yeah. So
well, I'd go with Dorian over Kale anyway.
Me too.
Ah!
Cassie.
Although not for Selena though, not for Aelin though, or whatever the hell her name is. I don't see her with either of them, but I prefer Dorian as a character over Kale, but I don't see her with any of them.
Yeah. That's
I
probably
see.
what I saw too. It was like, maybe that's why I shipped them so hard.
Can I just say that this book was the start of, you know, like how Picasso had his blue period? I think this is the start of Kale's whiny bitch period.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah, he becomes really annoying. But like for the first 2 books, okay, until honestly, straight up until we meet Rowan. So actually, let me take that back. Until partway through this book, the first time I read it, I was a total Kale shipper. I was like, why is she making out with Dorian? Like, get over yourself. And like when she tells Kale that you will always be my enemy, and she like throws her, temper tantrum about it. I'm like, but Selena, you love him. Like, you're gonna get over it, and you need to get over it because Kale deserves love. And then like I loved Dorian with Sorsha in this book so much because I was like, fucking finally get out of Selena's face. Like, go away. And then I remember when Rowan shows up the first time, I was like, who's this guy? Like, he can't be here. Because Kale and Selena need to make up. Yeah. But then I don't remember like where it is in this book the first time, but at some point I was like, wait, hold on. Am I changing my mind? And I did. I did change my mind.
Yeah. And they're so like I can picture them together, Selena and Rowan. Like, they're so perfect for each other. Yeah. Like it's I love it. But you mentioned Sorsha. I love Dorian and Sorsha together, and I just read the ending. So, Cassie, if you don't know,
I know.
It happens in this one. So when he got beheaded, I honestly, again, like I was reading it, and I was like, he is not. No, he's gonna let her go. He's gonna let her go. He's gonna let her go.
I totally forgot about the whole Dorian relationship. It went completely out of my mind. And it's like, as I was reading it, I'm like, well, what happens? Because she's not in later books. And then obviously then the showdown was like, and I was like, oh, okay, here it comes.
Hurt my
They're my OTP of the whole book, of the whole series, honestly.
Yeah, I love.
Like, I'm so sad that she's only in the one book. And I feel like if we start talking about another character that's in a later book, she reminds me a lot of that later character that's a different relationship person. But they remind me a lot of each other, and I'm like, oh, okay, so like
I totally see it, Cassie.
Yeah,
and like read that book.
I love that, like, that character, like, stereotype types thing. But yeah, I'm just really sad that she's not still alive because I do not like the other relationship that happened later. I don't like that one.
We have talked about it on a previous live show.
Yeah, but we didn't warn for spoilers for other books yet. We'll come back.
We'll come back.
That honestly, like, broke my heart this morning. I was like, oh, like, the way it was done, I completely forgot. And then the great thing is, though, so in the end, so Dorian ended up getting the collar put on to let Kale get out, and Kale got out, and he went to Ren, and Sorsha was sending letters to Ren the whole time. And then they're going to now, like, team up with Fleetfoot.
See, I think it's really frustrating because, well, it would have happened anyway, but it's just more of the fact of that Ren was pumping her for more information, and that's why she ended up getting caught. And it was just like, oh,
that's so sad.
I do love how Adian actually straight up told Kale that, like, you ain't over Selena. I was just like, I don't think he gets over Selena until at least book, 6, 7?
Yeah, it's the one that's all about him. That one.
Yeah, but I still don't think he's actually truly over her in that one. I mean, we get
we
another love interest happening, but
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's the one, like at the very end of that book is where you finally see resolution with his past. And now let's move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your guys' favorite scene in this book?
Ooh, let me think.
I really enjoyed the end. Well, not the very end, but the end kind of showdown with Maeve.
Oh
yeah.
Where Selena's just like, okay, you're in. It's like, I could burn you to the ground. It's like, I'm surrounded by stone. It's like, yeah, but your people aren't. Don't piss me off.
Yeah.
Then she uses the ring to get Rowan out from his blood oath. And then just to really drive it home, Rowan takes the blood oath from Selena.
That's such a good scene. It burns so much fire in my belly.
That is a good one. And that reminds me, this isn't my favorite scene, but just off of that one, when they go back to Selena's story of how her parents died, and then that connects to Maeve and the ring and like all the things. I totally forgot how that all happened, like how she ended up in the river, everything. Like, I don't know why I don't remember that. And so this all makes sense.
I actually wrote down in my, I actually wrote down in my notes saying like, oh, I bet Arabin has kept the necklace. Where have I put it? It's somewhere in here. I was like, yeah, I bet he's totally got the necklace, and he's known all along who Selena really is.
Yeah.
And so like in brackets, I was like, that's my guess. Can't remember what happened, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys remember that? Well, I know Cassie. I don't know if you got to that part yet.
No, but I do remember that Arvin knew the whole time. Like, I have that memory in my head.
That one, but like it went into like her with her parents and how that night went, and when she gave her the necklace and like how she got that, and then Lady Marion.
Oh yeah, Marion.
And how she sacrificed herself, and how Selena learned about what sacrifice means, and like I was like, oh my god, how do I not remember that? But that was my favorite scene. But I wanted to mention that scene because it connects on how that scene happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If I had to pick a favorite scene, like I really like that one too. That also another one was just honestly all the witch chapters, and all of them with Abraxos, and I just loved all of them. I don't know, I loved all of them.
One of the scenes my favorite scene is an Abraxas scene, and it's after I don't even know which one I would pick between these three things that happen very fast together.
Mm-hmm.
One is the scene where she watches Abraxos and Titus fight, and then she gets put into the ring by the stupid Yellow Legs Heir, and that whole scene is so good. Yeah. And then shortly after that, there's the scene where she tells all of the guys that have whips to get out.
Oh yeah.
And never come back with a whip again, or she'll kill them. Yeah. And then in that same scene, she tells Abraxas, "You're gonna let them do this and this and that, and you're gonna be fine with it, and you're gonna let me put a seat on you, or else you're gonna die here. So let me." And I just love it. Her character with Abraxas reminds me so much of Daenerys Targaryen.
Yes.
And like, I have feelings.
I totally see it. I've only seen 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, but I totally see it.
Oh, so good. My like funny favorite scene though is what I was originally gonna say, and it's the one where Abraxos is like eating flowers, and she's like, "You can't possibly like flowers," and he looks at her as if like, "Actually, I do," and that's what she thinks he's saying. Oh, so cute! I just love him.
Did we ever find out why the men and the meat tasted really funky?
I don't know if we find out in this book because, I haven't finished it, the reread. but I do.
The other 2 people here that have finished it.
I don't think so.
I don't think you do.
I think from like remembering all of the things from other books, I think that it's like that because of the Valg stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it's related to that. Like either they have rings, the men in the tower have rings, or something. But I don't know why the nasty goats are nasty.
Yeah.
To say that Rachel's popped up in the chat. So hi, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
I was saying to her because she said she was saying she loved any Manon scene, and that's so refreshing to hear from someone reading it for the first time. It's always positive. So that's so awesome.
So good.
What about you, Jackie? Did you have a favorite scene?
I have to go with Cassie. I just love any of the Manon and Vraxos scenes. It's just, I feel like I have a deep love for animals. And I think any scene involving creatures, animals is just going to have a special place in my heart. And just kind of going off of what we're saying now, but I didn't like Manon at first. And I didn't skip over her chapters the first time I read Heir of Fire. I just didn't care.
Yeah.
But I have such a newfound appreciation for her that any scene with her is like, yes.
Yeah. I agree. Did any of you have a like least favorite perspective? Like I already said, it was when it was always like Kale and
Kale for me.
It was Kale for me. It was really frustrating as Cassie said, that like finally get some Adian time, and Adian's been he's got a fake ring, so he's not under the power of the king, and it's just like all right. So he's kind of like infiltrating everything, and it's really sucky that we just got him with Kale because he was just such a down, whiny little bitch. Yeah. I mean, like he didn't even try to mend his friendship with Dorian until the very end of the book, and even then it's not really, their friendship's not really back to it. He was just like, yeah, you're my king. All right, I'm gonna go bye. It was
oh yeah,
but it's really upsetting because I really enjoyed seeing Adian, but Kale being there, kind of
Kale.
yeah.
Going off of that feeling, well, Rachel said that Sorsha was a weird perspective, but kind of refreshing. And like, I agree with that. As much as I love Dorian and Sorsha together, I actually found like her perspective of their relationship felt, I don't know. I didn't like how timid she was, I guess. I'm just like, okay, what? Like, go or don't go, but like pick one.
Yeah. How did we feel about having so many more perspectives in this book? Because I mean,
in general,
the last couple of times we didn't get so many, and then this one it's just kind of gone.
I like
everybody's perspective.
I liked it. I felt like it made the story flow a lot faster, even though this one is a little bit slower. Like everything's kind of just building up to everything that's going to happen. I liked it. Every time it changed, I was excited to see someone else. Personally.
There were times where I was just like, no, I'll get back to the other bit.
Yeah. That's how I feel. I think that she did a really good job transitioning that, because I felt that way the most in later books, like in Empire Storms and not Tower of Dawn, but the other one. Kingdom of Ash, Jesus. And I remember that's why it was like frustrating that she waited to give out Kingdom of Ash, because we got Tower of Dawn, and I was like, well, no, I don't want to wait.
I need Kingdom of Ash now.
Yeah.
I thought with Tower of Dawn being shoved in, like for sure. Yeah. I still am like, when we get to that, I'm like, can we skip it? Yeah.
So I liked it. I like it now. I'm really interested to see how I'm gonna like it when we reread it. But yeah, like I feel like this is the book where you really get to feel her making that distinct writing choice to like make you want to keep reading to get to the next time that you see the next character, but then you're gonna want to get to the other character the next time, because she kind of does all of these little mini cliffhangers throughout the whole book. And I remember the first time reading it that I didn't like that. I was just like, why are there so many new characters that we're reading from? Can we not? but now it's like part of the series.
Yeah, and I feel like she kind of has to based off where it's going because we even get more characters introduced moving on. And I think it was just such a drastic change from Crown. That's why I feel like it's like Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight is like one series, and then it just kind of turns, and then it's just like adding all these things, and it's like actually I'm deciding to change directions of this series.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, I think that's maybe why people are like, what the fuck for Heir of Fire, because I feel like she decided to change something, so she just plopped it all into that one, and then it flows with the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Sorry, there were so many training scenes in this book. I honestly felt like doing like the Rocky montage, like music playing behind every single one in my head as I was reading it, because it's like you get Selena doing her training, and then you get Manon training Abraxas, which is like I was more fun reading their training sessions just because of Abraxas. I love their connection. It's like even though he says nothing, he's just like, yeah. So
Rachel, okay, maybe I have a little hope. Yes.
Yay.
I don't know if you saw the beginning, Rachel, but we were saying like what we noticed as a reread for this series is it's really like a lull or like a foundational book for what's to come. And we didn't really realize that reading it the first time, but now the reread, we're like, oh wait, this is like foundation. And it was cool to reread because I got to see that. But I could see now, if I was reading it the first time, how I read now, it would be, I'm not sure what I would think. And now I'm like, oh my God, now I can wait for the next one, just like how we were with Crown.
Yeah. I feel like this book has a lot of like what we used to call second book syndrome.
Yeah.
Where, like nothing is really happening all that much. But like for this reread, it was like, oh, holy shit, you're getting so much information. It's such an information dump.
Yes.
Or like you don't even realize it's an information dump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I will say it did feel like there was a lot of filler as well.
Yeah.
It felt like the scenes in Rifthold were really dragged out just so it didn't feel like Dorian and Saoirse had an insta-love relationship. It felt like they dragged the scenes were dragged out there because it needed to flow more importantly, so you actually feel more when she gets beheaded at the end of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you want to care about the person who dies.
Yeah.
But it's one of the 4 characters that we get introduced to in this book. And it's no one like from previous ones. So she needed to give us time to like get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I felt something with it. Like if so who have we had die so far? It's Nehemia, and Saoirse, and then anyone else that was really like big?
I mean, a bunch of people died in Throne of Glass. He killed Brave, but Brave was a bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't think like named characters ones that we've spent a lot of time with. I mean, obviously,
Sam.
I was like, there's one other big one.
Yeah.
I feel like she's hit me in the heart with all 3 of those ones.
Yeah.
I think she did a good job, even in the short amount of time. Like even Sam, like he's just the one novella book, and then you're like, oh my God, like really? And then Nehemia, and then this one too. I felt it with all 3 of them. So I personally, maybe I just get attached really quickly.
I have that same problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do get attached easily too. So I think that's also partially why I like YA more than I like adult when it comes to fantasy, is like fantasy in adult tends to feel more drawn out, whereas young adult, it like the way that the like writing tropes that are used in young adult fantasy are different. I don't know. That could go into a whole nother live show.
But I think that's kind of like why I felt, like I said in the beginning, that this is like in the in-between world, you know? It's like Nevernight too. I won't say anything about Nevernight, but like it's sometimes people say it's YA, sometimes it's adult. Like for me, it's always in my adult section in the bookstore. But
Never,
like,
definitely an adult.
yeah, and like I don't know, but I still feel like it has that in between feel to it, where it's not like Game of Thrones, and it's not like any other YA fantasy. There's like a million of them. So I'm like any other typical YA.
Yeah. Talk about a lot of perspectives, George R.R. Martin.
Right?
I haven't read. I've watched the entire series. I've not read the books. I'm just like, yeah, I can.
In the first book, there are 9 perspectives.
Oh my god.
I can see why.
Yeah, because you got to get to everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And sorry for all the coughing. One thing that I noticed a big difference between most young adult writers and most adult authors when talking about fantasy is like, in general, when you're reading a YA fantasy, if you've got a main character who has a perspective, they're probably safe. But that is not the case when you read a George R.R. Martin book.
That's probably the only good thing about that. I mean, because the first time in YA that we actually got that was in Allegiant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that was particularly well done, but that's a whole nother live show.
Whole other discussion on that.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, this book is one of those two because Sorsha has a perspective, but she dies.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of Game of Thrones was on here, and I really wanted to mention something, and I just remembered it, so I just want to like talk about it really quickly. It's going to seem really weird, but do any of you guys play N64 or have in your time?
I have not.
Very long time ago.
Okay. So I love N64. I still play it to this day. It's like the only game console I play. But there's this game. I swear that Sarah J. Maas took one of the games for Manon's, like, you know when they have to grab the egg?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They had the exact same game in that game where you had to fly, and there's like 4 different areas where games you had eggs, and you had to take the other eggs from the other people and plant them in your own, and you like exactly the same. I'm like, you can take that from the N64. I think it was Diddy Kong Racing. Yeah, Diddy Kong Racing. I was like, hey, that's I thought it was kind of. I had to mention it. It's so random, but it was kind of funny when I was reading it.
Oh, but now you're going to go plug in the N64 and just be like...
Actually, we bought one. It broke, and we bought it this weekend from someone, and it still doesn't work. So it's our jumper pack or whatever. So we're going to have to get one at like a pawn shop or something. Yeah, it's so fun. I'll play it, and I'll send it to you guys. I'll find the game on YouTube and be like, see?
Yeah, send it to us, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry.
How do you think her portrayal of like the PTSD was done in this book? Because I think she did. This leads into another thing that I kind of want to ask is like, do you see the similarities between the characters in this with her other series, ACOTAR? But I think she did a better job at kind of showing you the PTSD aspect in ACOTAR. I think it was kind of a bit shittily explained in this one. So,
I've only read the first 2 books, and I don't remember the second book of ACOTAR. So technically, I only remember the first one, so I can't really say much on the difference.
I was about to say the same thing, Paula, because I think I mentioned this when we read the first book. I've always been more of an ACOTAR fan over Throne of Glass, but I agree with you. I think it was the PTSD elements in ACOTAR were more well represented in that series than this one, even though I can't speak on it. And I think, because it was written afterwards, I don't know.
Yeah, I will say that I think the grief in this book is really well done. Like her anger at the grief, like I think that all really worked well. And like for me, I read all of those negative feelings more as grief than as PTSD, even though like she probably does have PTSD from her past, like from the young stuff. And like she gets some of those flashbacks and she like doesn't even want to think about it. And I think that that aspect of this in comparison to the PTSD stuff that goes on in A Court of Mist and Fury, yeah, I agree that The Court of Mist and Fury is better written, which I think speaks to her writing getting better.
Yeah, definitely.
Writing, yeah.
But in this book, I read almost all of it more as grief, and I think the grief is well done. And that's more in regards to like how she talks about Sam and how she talks about Nehemia.
Yeah.
About them and everything. But yeah, so like I have focused more on that versus the PTSD. But
also with which characters do you see the most similarities in with Agatha? Because I think Rowan's pretty much Rhysand.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, definitely. There's so many similarities.
Yeah, and like Selena reads a lot like Feyre too. Like there's a lot of stuff that's similar. And like I'm trying not to go into why because I don't want to spoil anything for ACOTAR. So like, but yeah, I think that they read very similarly. And I think that's why I like both series so much is because I just like the main characters. Even though a lot of people don't like it because they're so similar, but I'm like, why would I hate something that I really like the main character?
Were there any things that you would have liked to have seen more of in the book?
I would have liked to see more Maeve.
Maeve?
Yeah. So
That would have been interesting.
Her perspective, maybe?
Not so much her perspective, but I think I would have personally liked more time in the actual court setting. Finding out more about all that, because it's kind of like she turns up, she's like, "Sup?" And then it's like, "Yeah, go over there, do some training."
She also reminds me of a character that is in ACOTAR that I won't name.
Oh, yeah.
She also reminds me of that. And yes, I think that it would have been really cool to see her and Aelin react to one another more often. But then at the same time, I think that if there was more Maeve, I think it could have felt a lot like that very 80s villain who likes to monologue about how good. And so like, do I really want that? No, but Maeve is a really cool villain. But I kind of think that part of why she's such a cool villain is because we have to wait so long to really get to see
and boy do we.
Yeah. And then it happens.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, I would just maybe want less of the training scenes from maybe I love Rowan and Aelin, but like maybe a little. I don't know. I like because now that I'm rereading it, I understand why scenes are the way they are and why the foundation has been put there and why it's the build up for everything. So I understand why the parts are there. So it's hard for me to say what I want more of and what I want less of. Like I feel like maybe less kale.
Yeah.
Like that's it. It's just because I understand where the series is going and why it is the way it is that change.
I would have liked to see more flashbacks or like maybe instead of us actually listening to Emrys tell those stories, for it to be like, here's the story that Emrys tells and we actually get it in that perspective. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that
could have been
kind of like a movie flashback.
Yeah, exactly. But in book form.
I think that would have been cool.
Yeah.
And the book would have been so much longer. And to be fair, there are some bits where it's just like really like it's like Rachel put in the chat, as we all can see, that it's just like less rambling and useless scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't
Perfect way of putting it.
It's like with the Skinwalkers, it's like they turn up and it's like we don't get any history of the Skinwalkers whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, what are they? Do we find out?
No,
we don't find out. I was
It's
like,
just
what
like
are these
happening
things? Give me the
It's-
details.
It's one of those where it's just like, yeah, we're in like, magic world now, so this is like, bad things that happen. Can I also just I was so confused with the whole magic thing. It was just like, okay, there's magic in this area, but he took the magic away. And then when it finally explained it, where it's just like he had the towers set up like a triangle, so within the triangle, there is no more magic and there's magic other places. I was like, finally, that's explained, because it's been doing me tits in for like 2.5 books now.
I also was going to say that I think we get an explanation, not specifically for the skinwalkers, but for a lot of those dark and creepy creatures.
Yes.
With information from other books that happen later, because we don't know the thing about Maeve yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But we know that she actually tells Selena. Well, Selena figures out, and she kind of like Maeve kind of confirms it, that yes, she was looking for the word marks, well, the word keys.
Yeah.
But that's as far as it went at the end of the thing.
Because isn't it not until Kingdom of Ash that we actually find the thing out?
I don't know. I haven't read Kingdom of Ash.
I haven't read it.
No, then I won't say. I'm not going to say it, but there's a thing that we find out, and I can't remember if it's Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, or Kingdom of Ash.
One of those 3 books.
I don't even know what the thing is, so
okay, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. I'll also tell you. I'm trying to think of anything else I wanted to bring up. Did anyone have any specific that they really wanted to talk about?
I don't think so.
I like that we saw like a gay relationship.
Oh yeah. Didn't need to be explained,
Yeah. I think it was great that it was just there, and it was like that. It's just because it should be the norm, but sometimes in fantasy books it's like everything needs, or in other books everything needs to be like micro explained, and I was grateful that wasn't done in this book. It was just there and there. That's it.
Yeah. I also my question that I was going to ask was like, what are you excited for to read in the next book? We're all a reread for the next book too, right?
But we still have it, so she's watching.
Okay. So vaguely, who are you excited or what are you excited for the next book?
Well, do we want to warn for any spoilers though?
I mean, if you want to go into like specifics, then
I wouldn't go into specifics. I'd just say what people I'm wanting, because it's like the people that I'm wanting have been shown, because it's like I obviously want more Manon. And I think in Queen of Shadows we finally get Lysandra back.
Yeah, I think it's Queen of Shadows.
I'm gearing up for that. I'm like, yes.
I'm excited for her too.
I feel like for me, I'm really excited for it because Queen of Shadows and Empire of Storms blend together for me. So I don't want to say anything because I literally have them matched. And so I'm excited to read it, get them out of my head separately so I can be like, oh, that's that book. That's that book. But if Lysandra, I love her scene. So I'm hoping that she's in this one. I can't remember because it's blended in my brain.
Yeah, I'm the same, but I'm thinking now with finishing this one and Dorian getting the collar put on him, and then there's the whole thing happening, and then there's the showdown at the end of Queen of Shadows.
Yep.
That's what I remember the most of Queen of Shadows, the ending.
I am most excited for the revenge plot that happens in the 4th book.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say, because I'm real excited for that.
I agree, Cassie. I love revenge plots in books. It's like my favorite trope. So I can't wait.
Because I think Queen of Shadows, like I can't remember if Queen of Shadows or Empire of Storms is my favorite, but most of you said Queen of Shadows, right?
I like both of them.
I
can't remember.
I love them both. They're both definitely my favorites. I just can't remember. I'm so excited to distinguish them.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
It's like same with Brittni. Like going into this book, there's so many things that I completely forgot about. And it's just, I think now because I've grown up and obviously in age, but I've also grown more as a reviewer and reading books not just reading them for the sheer pleasure of it. I'm actually like, you know, thinking about why this is here and this kind of plot point and story and pacing and things. So I think that is helping me also distinguish between them, because the first time I'm just like, ooh, story, fairies, yay, kind of thing. And then, yeah, stabby, good times.
Oh my God, yes.
And I think that we'll talk to these ladies after, but I think we're going to end up doing the Queen of Shadows live show at the end of September. But we'll explain it to you guys later. But just so you guys know, that is probably when we're going to do Queen of Shadows.
Yeah, keep an eye out on TOG read-alongs with an S at the end is our Twitter handle. So check that out. We'll keep you updated on when the next live show will be. But yeah, it'll be one of the last 2 weeks of September probably. And it'll probably be around this time frame of as far as like timing goes, but we don't know what day of the week yet. So yeah, that's all the information. And yeah, I had a really good time. Don't forget to subscribe to everybody in the live show. It's down in the description box down below. And I think that's everything.
If you can hear Wyatt, yeah, he's having
there he is.
he's having a late night.
Perfect timing, am I right? All right. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.